Facebook, crack open a Spindrift, whatever your pleasure is for the evening. I kind of got wined out over the weekend, so a grapefruit seltzer is all right for me. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining me and for the FlipLogic Real Estate Show. It's a long-running series. We haven't been able to get to it every Monday night, but it's Q&A. I typically run 1 hour or until all questions are exhausted. So you can use the Q&A box down there below in the panel and get in your questions. If you want to jump on live audio, let me know. We can, take your questions that way as well. And we'll run, for about an hour or, until all questions are exhausted and we're tired of each other. so hey, Harry. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Rana. Good to be with you guys this evening. Thanks for being here. All right. So anyways, so I guess kind of the topic that I brought up when I sent this out was just looking at the lending environment and what's going on here now, and I saw as of recent, and I'll actually pull it up here so you guys can actually see my screen. But I just thought that this was interesting, and I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on what you think of it as it plays into the market here. Let me see. I guess first off, unemployment is definitely ticked up. I mean, it comes out every Thursday, right? And so it's ticked up but man, that was a huge jump from 2 weeks ago. I think, what did I have on there? It was at 6 million or so, or was it 2? Or what? It was, maybe it was the 3 million mark, somewhere around there. And it's already ticked up to 22 million. So man, things escalate quickly. So between unemployment being a big factor into what's going on here, it's definitely caused lenders to tighten up their guidelines. And I actually was just reading today that although FHA has their guidelines, typically, FHA will allow for, I think, FICOs as low as 580, I think maybe even sometimes less than that, and 3.5% down. Minimum credit score 580, down payment 3.5%. While that's FHA guidelines, it's the lenders who do the lending. It's FHA that actually guarantees the loans to mitigate risk for the banks. But the banks are requiring, they'll take the low FICOs, but what they're doing is they're underwriting interest rates. They're doing like 10% or 15%, added to prime. So they're offering interest rates that don't even make sense for a borrower, and they can't even qualify. So basically, if you don't have a 700 FICO, about that, then you can't qualify for a loan right now. So I've noticed that, and we'll kind of see. Again, that's just going to kind of go with the current state of affairs. Obviously, when things change, then those should loosen back up. But that definitely is going to put a choke on demand in, for your median to entry level, price point areas, for those FHA borrowers looking to get a loan and get in to properties. So I don't know if any of you have experienced anything like that with any borrowers who not qualifying or falling out, but that's kind of the state of affairs at the moment. I know from corresponding with some of my other rehabbers who we partner with, they're having trouble reselling their properties that they've got on the market. So, and obviously it's going to be in pockets. It's really going to depend, again, whether that buyer is, somebody who's, trying to qualify for that FHA 3.5% down, with the minimum, sub 700 FICO. But that's kind of what's going on. Yeah. People have got to have good credit in order to qualify. And so we'll see how that continues to play out. But as far as, wholesaling, wholesaling is still business as usual. Obviously it's about discounting. It's about easy, green light deals. I'm noticing guys, they want easy deals with a good margin that gives them time, gives them room for any, market corrections. Because, going into a rehab, you're looking at 90, typically 60, 90 days, to come out on the other end of it. So the market can look, quite different 60 to 90 days from now. So guys are still buying. They just want those green lights, interior rehab, maybe new roof, just quick and easy with a good margin. So those still work. But yeah, guys are definitely having more inventory sit from what I'm told. And so that's, so everybody's being more cautious as far as what they're buying and what price they're buying at. So I'd love to get your guys' feedback on that. If you guys have any questions or have anything you want to discuss on it. Hey, Maurice, good to hear from you. Hope you're well. But that's kind of what's going on. I would imagine on the other end, sellers the foreclosures are probably going to uptick here. I know forbearances had exceeded FHA's expectations by about, they thought by May 1st, they were going to hit like 1 million forbearances, and they exceeded that number by 37% already. So the numbers here are quite staggering, and continue to move in that direction. So that's what's up. Is this a good time for lease options? Maurice, that's a great question. Yeah, lease options, obviously if you're talking about a lease option, it's great for a tenant. There's always a demand for a lease option. There's people with, especially now, whenever you're in a harder to qualify credit environment like this, you have more borrowers who are unable to qualify for a mortgage. And so, then lease option, or AKA rent to own, becomes a good option for them. So that's always something that's in demand. So always a good time for lease option. Obviously structuring that on your purchase, that's typically the way those work best is when, you can take those over subject to, as you already know. So, but yes, you can take those over subject to, which, you're going to have more and more people looking to unload their properties. You can take them over subject to. You'll always have demand for somebody wanting to come in and do a rent to own. Let's see. Anybody else have any other questions? Sorry. During COVID, what's your vision on structuring deals? Safe, clear, easy deals. It's just going to become, typically we look to buy stuff with about a, with a 10% ROI, rehab ROI, for rehabbers. That number is still a number that's doable, but you're definitely going to need to discount ARVs to adjust for that. How much to discount ARVs? You could probably start with 5%. Off the bat, and again, just you're looking for stuff in entry to median price point neighborhoods. Definitely want to stay, affordable stuff, easy rehabs, because everybody wants easy right now. Everybody wants quick deals. Nobody wants to be holding on to deals longer than they need to in this environment. And again, they want to make sure that they've got a good margin come 90 days from now when they look to put it on the market and exit. So discount your ARVs, be conservative, support your comps really well, and go from there. Again, entry level, median level neighborhoods, easy deals on good streets, because that's what people are going to want. Due diligence time periods. Due diligence time periods, if typically 5 days is good, 5 to 7 days. People will still move quickly on a good deal. Getting really aggressive on due diligence time periods, really aggressive would be like 1 to 3 days. You can still do, I think one day is probably too aggressive right now. I'd say you want to be somewhere between 3 to 7 days. Even us, we can get a decision within 3 days on a deal. So three business days on due diligence is fine with a 14-day close. So those timelines still work, 3 and 14, or call it 7 and 14. But it's just going to come down to those margins. It's going to have to be, just a solid, good house on a good street in a good neighborhood, with a good margin. So, discounting your ARVs by maybe an extra 5% off the current comps, and going in that way. Let's see, Harry, does subject to require special forms? Subject to, basically subject to, you're still going to use a purchase and sale agreement. On page 1, where it's talking about the financing, the deeds of trust, how is it being structured? You're basically just checking that box on the first loan, and you're just writing in or checking the box subject to the existing mortgage, which just means that you're not paying that off. That's staying. And you can even write that in the other financing terms. Sale is subject to the existing mortgage. Mortgage is not to be paid off. You can make it that clear, and that's it. That's the form that you're going to use to make that happen. That's going to be the instructions for the title and the escrow company or the closing attorney. And then, of course, you're going to want to use like an extra disclosure, like an AITD, all-inclusive, AIDT, all-inclusive deed of trust disclosure, which just says basically, hey, you're still liable for the loan, Mr. Seller. Obviously we're going to take over the payments and we're going to keep up with that, but you're still liable until it's paid off. So, but that's how you can structure it with a purchase and sale agreement. Marie says, can I have an example on a typical number scenario? I'm still having trouble comprehending ideas. So can you have an example on a typical number scenario? So maybe you mean like a wholesale deal, perhaps? Let me see. Well, you could do something like, I mean, this here, I'll go into a lead here, and I'll go into the Analyze tab. So once you've set your ARV, and you do that by obviously selecting comps to support your ARV. So this one's already been done, and I'm just going to show you. But zooming in on the black marker, which is our subject property, all the reds are unselected comps, the greens are selected comps. So you can see the selected comps here. The ones that we've selected were the most similar to our subject here, which is a 3-1124 square feet on a lot size that looks like it's having an issue there. But the ARV for this came out to 640. If you go to Analyze, you've got your 640 in there for the ARV. This was a fire damaged property. So that's why you see about 100,000 in repairs, or $88 a foot. In this scenario, we put a 6-month holding time on there, given the state of the repairs that are needed and what's needed to remediate and get the fire tag by the city removed. But when we put a 15% ROI in here for the heavy rehab instead of a 10, we put 15. That put the net rehab price at 400,000. So if that's your max rehab price, 400,000, because that's going to generate a 15% ROI and an 85,000 profit net for doing the rehab. Obviously, you're going to want to put it under contract below that to have a wholesale margin, right? So, your suggested is 373, and that's just a suggestion. And then the initial offer is saying to be 346. Again, just a suggestion. I mean, if you put a $400,000, if your wholesale exit's 400,000. You could come up as high and tight as 390 to have a $10,000 margin if you're just doing an assignment. If it's going to be a double closing, going to have some extra closing costs in there. So you're probably going to be somewhere around closer to, the 373, 375, 380. And that's maybe, while that's not so much typical, once you put in an ARV and a repair budget, these numbers will generate, and a typical is like a 4-month holding time. Guys who are really good, they can turn it in, 60 to 90 days. Well, we've got a tougher market that we're in now. So, these could be, 4-month, 6-month holding times, who knows, but typically it'll default to 4-month holding time. It'll use this leverage, 80% for purchase and repairs, 10% for the interest rate, and then it'll put 10% in there for the ROI. So that's pretty typical. And then once you know your wholesale exit number, just come in underneath that. And with every negotiation, don't start at where you're going to end. Give yourself room to come up. I hope that helps. Okay. Let's see, did I miss anybody? Let me know if that answers your question. If you have any other question, any follow-up to that, I'll see what I can do. Okay. All right. Well, it's 6:54. So we're only 22 minutes in. We've got more time unless we're all out of questions. All right. Well, I think that's it. So if that's all the questions you guys have this evening, I hope that helped illustrate some of my ideas, some of the feedback that I've gotten, from other rehabbers right now, trying to unload their inventory and, any new inventory that they're looking to pick up. I wish I knew when this was all coming to an end. I know that May 15th is when, I guess, businesses are supposed to open back up and the quarantine's supposed to end. So we'll see how lenders react to all of that and see if these forbearances, fall off or if they, end up turning into foreclosures. It's hard to say. I mean, I drive here in my neighborhood and, some of the restaurants that I would go to, and I know the restaurant industry's been hit really hard. I don't know how many of those folks end up being buyers in this marketplace here in Southern California. I know places like Las Vegas, I mean, that's going to just be, it's just going to be devastating. But like I look at like Swingers is a restaurant that I used to go to a lot. Chart House right here I used to go to a lot. Both of those permanently folded, permanently gone. So, there are definitely going to be jobs that don't come back. And, that's going to affect every, local real estate market differently. Again, Vegas comes to mind. That's a big service-oriented market. I bet foreclosures are going to go through the roof there if I had to throw a dart and guess. Southern California, I don't know. We will see. We will see when things, open back up and if, everybody goes back to business as usual. So, and what the inventory looks like. What's a sure way to find real estate investors? A sure way is, one, run a search. You can run a search right in FlipLogic under instant leads. You can run a cash buyer search. And then the sure way is to pick up the phone and call those guys. And just let them know that, you looked them up, wanted to see if they were still buying. If so, what are they looking for? What's in their buy box right now? All right. Any other questions? I think that's it. Name and search. I'm not sure what you mean by name and search, but yeah, you can run a search for investors, using keywords like like we buy houses, I buy houses, residential home buyer, keywords like that. Let's see. All right, guys. Well, I think that'll bring this to an end for us. So thanks everybody for being here. If you have any follow-up questions that you think of, feel free to email me, ryan@ryantkerk.com or ryan@1-888-CashOffer.com, whatever you can. Oh, it's 7 o'clock. My dog's gonna go crazy. 7 o'clock. Everybody blows their horn. And as the weeks have gone on, everybody gets ready for it. So when it started off as just like 1 or 2 people, now it's like, can you hear it? Yeah, now it's like the whole marina just goes off. I'm glad you guys got to witness that. Yeah, they'll probably call it quits here pretty soon. All right. Well, anyways, if you guys have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. Ryan at 1-888-CashOffer.com. Would love to connect, and continue to, do deals with you guys. So take care, and everybody enjoy their evening. Thanks, everybody.